Welcome to the Measure Kool-Aid Report, where obviously I'm going to be talking about the back and forth that's going on a little bit with Trayvon Diggs, Ezekiel Elliott, and PFF. Well, it is a little bit of a beef, and those who've been following Boss Cowboy Sports know where I stand. And I'm definitely not a fan of PFF. And just to take you a little bit through the history, I stopped trusting PFF the day that they put out that Mitch Trubisky had a better rookie year than Deshaun Watson. That they blew my trust. I never used them as a grading comparison source again. So I've said this before, I'm gonna say it again. There are ways to use PFF and there's ways not to use PFF. I'm gonna get into that more so at the end, so just kind of stay with me and I'll break down the ways to use PFF and the ways not to use PFF, because a lot of times when you trusting third-party graders, you trusting somebody else's eyes. That's really what's going on, but we'll talk about that. But Trayvon Diggs he said PFF put out a fake stat for right tackle and y'all believed them. Shots fired. Bang. Yeah. But it's funny he said that, because I was saying the exact same thing, because I've been debating people all the time on La'el Collins versus Steele. And I've been telling y'all that PFF was leading y'all wrong with the grades they was putting out on La'el Collins versus Steele. Because when we put those guys side by side on film, the OC and I, we did a side by side comparison at right tackle where we showed all their past pro plays for at least 2 games, on sometimes 3 games, and we showed all of the run blocking plays. The funniest thing about that is we had about 130 people watching live, and we did a vote live with everybody. But it was only for the people that was there. Now, we always make that video known. We always try to offer that video to people who doubt that. But for people that watched the video, they was like, bruh, now this is the craziest thing. It was 100% of fans that watched the comparison that the OC and I did. And they voted for Steele. 100%. You can't get 100% of Cowboy fans to agree that the sky's blue when it's blue. So that told me, but if you turned on and you start reading the comparison grades of PFF, they had like La'el Collins was playing way better than Steele, and it was just frankly a lie. It showed me, and I keep telling y'all, it's a whole lot of people that get paid big dollars out here that's not doing the work. I'm telling you, because there's no way you can do the work that the OC and I did at right tackle. There's no way. And there's no way you can put those guys side by side and say any different and compare them play for play. You can't do it. It was a lot of people that had critics. That was critics of what I was saying. It's people that do film breakdowns that was critics of what I was saying. As of today, it has not even been one yet that put their film work to say what their mouth is saying. Not even one. So it's just what it is. So when you see Trayvon Diggs come out and he say PFF put out a fake stat for right tackle and y'all believe them, he not lying. He telling the truth. And so Zeke also, RJ Choppy jumped in, who also seeing through the BS as well, where he said PFF is literally the only stat data collection source that had you over 1,000 yards. Not a single other stat source did. I talked about the junk size on Trayvon Diggs in that versus video that I did between the treatment of Dak and the treatment of Kyler Murray. And I summed it up by saying every Dallas Cowboy player is going to be treated this way. And I'm going to say the exact same thing I said in that video. What's happening, and a lot of people are not catching up to this, but some people are. Now, if you follow this channel, you're catching up to it a lot faster. But what's happening is it's big money to cater to the hater market. And so we got to understand, most fans kind of have this much market share. I'm just using this as an illustration. So this much market share, right? Total market share. Just try to use this in your imagination. Then The Cowboys, obviously, because they have a massive fan base, they'll have like this much market share. Okay, so it's much bigger than the normal market team, if you know what I mean. Just using this as a illustration. This is why you see us on every channel. Everybody always talking about us because they're catering to the bigger size of the Dallas Cowboys fans, which I would say, just in this illustration, is this big. But then there's the Dallas Cowboy hater market. So the Dallas Cowboy hater market, let me define that. Those are people that are envious and they can't stand the Dallas Cowboys, but especially because of the mantra and the celebrity of America's team. They hate the fact that we are everywhere. They hate the fact that we are known everywhere. They hate the fact that we are a wealthy team. They hate the fact that we have the most fans. So their market is here. Our market is here. But when you combine all those smaller markets, the hater market is like 3 times the size of even a Dallas Cowboy massive fan base. It's big. So that's why Stephen A and people like Stephen A have literally built a brand around the hater market. And that's why he kisses the picture of Jerry Jones every morning, because the hater market made Stephen A wealthy and who he is. He kisses Jerry Jones every day. That's why he said, I'm not mad at Jerry Jones, because guess what? You catering to the hater market, Stephen A, is what made you. So now, anytime something happened with the Dallas Cowboys, the hater market, I always say, I can't wait to see what Stephen A has to say. Because he built a brand around catering to the haters of the Dallas Cowboys. But people followed. People start seeing it's big enterprise to cater to that market. And guess what? PFF, they stepped in line. I believe Madden is in line. I think all of that is they actually get more exposure by knocking our bets. So then you would wonder why Zeke chimed in. So Zeke chimed in and he said, people who never played football before, look at PFF, LOL. So I wish he would have said it a little bit different, because it has nothing to do with if you played or not. It would. I wish he would have cleaned it up by saying the truth about it, is that people that don't know how to break down film or do independent analysis over trust PFF. That's the truth. So, and when you say it the way he said it, it gives PFF kind of cover. But if he would have said it a little bit better, it would have been a legitimate attack on PFF without any kind of potential insult to fans who trust PFF. But that's my opinion on Zeke's comment. But at the same time, it's a little bit true, because I see this all the time. People and when I always talked about the example of Steele versus La'el Collins. And the people would be like, I'm so concerned about Steele. I'm concerned if he's going to be okay because I was reading PFF and they're great on him. Listen, y'all, it's a catering to the hater market, and they stepped in line. So, and they get views that way. Do you know how many shares? I'm going to show you. Look at the amount of shares that PFF got when they put out there that Trayvon Diggs gave up 1,000 yards. Go look at their normal trends of tweets and look at when they just said Trayvon Diggs gave up the most. Now think about that. You said Trayvon Diggs gave up the most yards in the NFL. You don't even have to, honestly, use common sense to know that that's BS. Do you know how much 1,000 is in a season? And you telling me your eyes saw him give up 1,000 yards? Think about a 1,000-yard receiver and how hard that is to do. And then think about, did you see that happening to Diggs in a season? You didn't. You didn't. But because they put it behind a reputable name that's supposed to be known for accurate analytics, it went viral. But guess who was doing the most shares on it? The haters. Diggs ain't all that. That's who shared the most. The haters. Diggs ain't all that. That 11 interceptions, that's nothing. He gave up 1,000 yards. Junk science. It's garbage. And I already told y'all, they admitted how they came up with it. They admitted that basically they look where the ball, who's around the ball when it's in the air. They don't even know the coverages. They don't know who was assigned. They don't know any of that. So basically they pulled that 1,000 yards straight out their ass, man. They did. And we falling for it. And some Cowboy fans falling for it. But the haters don't care. They just sharing it. Oh, Diggs ain't all that. Go look at the Philly fans. Oh, I'll take Slay over Diggs. You a damn lie. You a lie. And if you don't understand the value of 11 interceptions to a defense, you are a fool. And that's a fact. You're a fool. So I promised that I was going to talk about how to properly use PFF. And this is how to properly use PFF. Don't use PFF for comparisons. Don't use PFF for comparisons. Don't believe what they say when they throw out stats. When they say Mitch Trubisky had a better year than Deshaun Watson, just don't even listen to it. Don't listen to their comparison analysis, because it's about attention. This is where you use PFF, and this is where PFF will be of value, and is a value. PFF is a value when you're looking for data that's about like formations. So something like, for a good example, Cox, when he was at LSU, lined up at the nickel back position 40% of the time, 50% of the time. See, that's something you can measure yourself. So that's something you can verify yourself. And they are good at that part. That's where I would reference PFF. Like, for instance, Donovan Wilson, most people don't know this, but Donovan Wilson played more snaps at free than he did at strong. But most of us would think that he played mostly strong safety, but actually how he played was mostly at the free, where he used a lot of range, especially when he got the most snaps. That's where PFF is a value. But when they say McCaffrey is over Zeke, trash it. I don't care if they say one of our players is the best. I don't trust it. It's how many times you're going to have super wild takes, like what you had on Trayvon Diggs, like what you had on Mitch Trubisky versus Deshaun Watson. And when Zeke was at his best, they was ranking him 7th and 8th. You trust that? I'm talking about at his best. We talking about the first 3 years where nobody had any issues with Zeke. PFF did. They had him ranked 8th. And then their logic was because he had a lot of touches, it overinflated how good he is. So we not gonna look at his production. We go just look at the attempts, and we gonna make this overall assessment that Zeke is 8th. Crazy junk science. But again, it's playing to the hater market. So once you figure that out, and once you fully understand that, then you know how to properly address PFF. So my last thing I'm gonna say is this. I don't know what these players go do, because they're in a lose-lose situation. Because most people say you shouldn't say anything in return. Most people will say that. But if you don't say anything about the junk science that they're putting out on you, it gives your owners leverage, especially ownership like the Dallas Cowboys, who will use any leverage in negotiations, especially public negative leverage. So if you're silent on a slander, then it empowers your enemy. If you speak out on the slander, then people go label you as entitled and a crybaby. I think the players should unite, to be honest, and go right at PFF. And because see, the players know, they smart, they know. That's why he was talking about right tackle, because he even looking at their right tackle stats saying, man, y'all crazy. Yeah. So I think they should unite, to be honest. I think they should go after the credibility of PFF, because why should a third-party data company be allowed to just slander your reputation, which is everything? It affects their money tremendously. So we do events with some of these players, and the better their brand is and the better their reputation is, the more they can charge for autograph signings and all of that. So their reputation is everything. So you gonna let a company just slander you, make up bogus stuff about you like you gave up 1,000 yards, and then behind the scenes say, well, we really don't know. We just kind of assign those yards to him. So, but this is the Measured Kool-Aid report. I wanted to give y'all the Measured Kool-Aid and the full thoughts and analysis on the Trayvon Diggs, Ezekiel Elliott debate with PFF. And that's my full take on it. But y'all stay up. Y'all gonna get a whole lot more of these Measured Kool-Aid reports. That's gonna give to me the measured response and the measured facts on some of the things that's happening with the Cowboy Nation. Y'all stay up. Peace.